Rain slid down the black BMW like it didn't dare to stay. At the traffic light, Adrian Blackwell, the kind of CEO people whispered of a ruthless in boardrooms, allergic to distractions, saw something that cut through the tinted calm of his world. A little girl, no older than 8, stood barefoot by a flickering street lamp, her hair plastered to her face, clutching a duct-taped backpack. Her other hand tugged at the sleeve of a woman leaning against the trunk of a car. Its lid cracked open, just enough for shadowy shapes to hide inside. The girl's lips trembled as she whispered to a man in a wet hoodie, "Sir." "She's too weak to beg." "Please." Adrian glanced again. Inside the trunk, through the rain blur, he saw movement. And then he froze. The light turned green. Horns blared. But Adrian didn't move. The girl's voice carried through the rain again, thin and breaking, the kind that carried weight far heavier than her tiny frame. When Adrian finally pulled into the nearest parking lot, his heartbeat thudded louder than the rain drumming on the roof. He grabbed his coat, deep navy cashmere, tailored, and stepped out, shoes splashing and water pooling along the curb. The woman beside the car looked up as he approached. She was young, maybe late 20s, with the kind of beauty that no lipstick could hide even under exhaustion, the fine lines at the corners of her eyes from too little sleep, cheekbones sharp against skin that hadn't seen warmth in weeks. Her coat, once white, was gray with dirt, the seams fraying. She had one hand on her belly, swollen under the thin fabric of a stretched-out sweater, pregnant and shivering. The little girl turned, her eyes wide, almost black in the dim light. "Please, sir," she whispered again, voice catching. "She hasn't eaten since yesterday." Adrian looked at the car. The trunk lid groaned when the woman pushed it higher. Inside, a bundled figure lay curled, a blanket soaked through, coughing softly. Another child. A boy maybe 6, his shoes worn down to threads. Adrian felt the cold stab through his coat, then the kind of cold that wasn't about weather. "Why? Why are you out here?" Adrian asked, words heavier than he intended. The woman's chin lifted slightly, pride slipping through the fatigue. "We had a room. Motel on 5th, but the card declined today. I cleaned offices for cash. It wasn't enough." Her fingers pressed against her temple for a second, before she blinked rain out of her lashes. "We'll be fine. We just need tonight." He noticed then, the coins in the little girl's other hand, quarters and dimes, dripping wet. A bus transfer ticket stuck to her sleeve like a badge of surrender. For a moment, Adrian said nothing. Cars hissed by on the wet street. Neon from a nearby diner sign flickered across their faces, warm colors against their cold skin. He felt something shift in him, an old memory maybe, though he didn't have time to name it. "Come inside," he said finally, motioning toward the diner. "All of you." The woman hesitated. "Sir, we can't afford. I didn't ask you to pay." Adrian cut in, softer this time. Inside, the diner smelled of coffee and fried food. Warm air wrapped around them like a blanket. The kids slid into a booth, eyes darting toward the menu board as if afraid it might disappear. The little girl kept glancing at her mother, waiting for permission even to look hungry. The waitress, a woman with tired eyeliner and a name tag that read Karen, poured coffee into Adrian's cup, eyeing the dripping trio across from him. "You feeding them?" she asked under her breath. "Yes, whatever they want," Adrian said. Plates arrived, pancakes, eggs, the kind of portions only diners believe in. The boy in the blanket ate slowly at first, then faster, like the food might vanish. The little girl whispered thank you between bites. The mother sat straight, shoulders back, eating last, eyes shining but jaw tight, like accepting kindness was its own kind of humiliation. Adrian studied her. Rain had curled loose strands of her dark hair around her face. Even in exhaustion, she carried herself like someone who hadn't learned how to beg, only how to endure. At the 3-minute mark, as the girl reached for the last pancake, The mother's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, face draining. "It's the motel," she murmured. "They want the room cleared tonight. All our things are still there." The boys stopped eating. The little girl's fork froze mid-air. Outside, thunder rolled closer. Adrian looked at them, then at the rain sliding down the diner window. Something hard settled in his chest. Adrian pushed his coffee aside. "Eat," he told the kids quietly. "I'll take care of the motel." The woman shook her head immediately, panic flashing across her face. "No, you don't even know us." Her voice was hoarse but firm, the kind that tried to build walls even when the roof had already collapsed. "We'll figure it out. I've been figuring it out since." She stopped, biting the inside of her cheek. Adrian leaned back, watching the storm lash against the windows. "Since your husband?" She nodded once, jaw tight. "Construction accident. 6 months ago. No insurance." Her fingers fidgeted with the hem of her sweater, knuckles pale. "I clean offices, houses, sometimes night shifts at the laundromat when they need help. But with the baby coming..." Her hand brushed over her stomach briefly, protective, almost apologetic. "I can't keep up." The little girl whispered then, not looking up from her plate. "Mama fainted yesterday." Adrian caught the flicker of embarrassment on the woman's face, the way she straightened her spine like dignity alone could erase hunger. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Maria." She finally met his gaze, eyes the same dark brown as her daughter's, guarded, but not unkind. "Maria," he said carefully, "let me help tonight. No conditions." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "People always want something later. Not me." He didn't smile when he said it. Rehook. At that moment, the boy began coughing, a deep, rasping sound that didn't belong in a child's body. Maria grabbed a napkin, eyes darting to Adrian like she was afraid he might change his mind now that illness was part of the bargain. The boy's shoulders shook under the soaked blanket. "Has he seen a doctor?" Adrian asked. She hesitated. "Clinic wanted $300 up front. I don't even have 30. That settled it for Adrian. He paid the diner bill, left a tip that made the waitress blink twice, and told Maria to bring the kids. The storm hadn't let up. Wind slapped at them as they hurried to his car. Inside the BMW, heat poured from the vents. The little girl kept running her fingers along the leather seats like she was afraid they weren't real. Maria stared straight ahead, arms wrapped around her belly. Shoulders rigid. At the motel, the manager had already boxed their belongings. 2 garbage bags of clothes, a torn stroller, a shoebox of school papers. Adrian handed over his card without a word and rented the room for a month. Maria stood in the doorway, wet hair clinging to her cheeks, looking at the receipt like it was written in another language. "I can't pay you back," she said finally. Voice thin. "Wasn't expecting you to," Adrian replied. She swallowed hard, glancing at her kids as they darted around the room like it was a palace. "Why are you doing this?" Adrian didn't answer right away. Maybe it was the memory of his own mother working double shifts after his father vanished. Maybe it was the rain or the way the boy had coughed like his lungs were made of paper. He just said, because someone should have helped sooner. Over the next week, Adrian kept showing up. Groceries, first bags of milk, bread, vegetables, even the good cereal with cartoons on the box. Then a prepaid clinic appointment for the boy, who turned out to have bronchitis, but nothing worse. Maria tried to refuse at first, but each time she saw the kids eating without counting coins, her protests faded. One evening, Adrian found her at the laundromat, folding donated clothes, her hair tied back. Exhaustion softening the edges of her beauty, but never dimming it. "I got an interview," she said quietly, almost shyly. "Office assistant. They called after you helped me print the resume." He smiled then, the first real smile she'd seen from him. "You'll be great." The day she got the job, she showed up at his office in a thrift store blazer, that didn't quite fit, but made her stand taller. The kids had new shoes from a clearance rack. The boy no longer coughed. Months later, Maria moved into a small apartment with sunlight in the mornings and a second-hand couch where the kids did homework. Adrian visited sometimes, never staying long. Always bringing something small, a stack of library books, a repaired bike. Once even a chocolate cake with too much frosting. The night before Christmas, the little girl handed him a crumpled drawing of their family, Maria. The baby now born and healthy, her brother, herself, and Adrian standing beside them. Underneath, in crooked letters, "Thank you for seeing us." Adrian looked at Maria then, at the woman who no longer stood shivering in the rain, and realized this wasn't charity anymore. It was something quieter, something permanent.